As a result of Cook's voyages, the fur trade developed in the Pacific Northwest at the end of the 18th century. Hawaii became a favorite wintering place for fur traders and traders in general. 4 years after Cook made his last voyage, ships began to call at the islands. The French explorer, La Perouse, came to the islands, as did British and Spanish explorers. Of those early visitors, however, Captain George Vancouver stands out. Vancouver had visited the islands in 1778 and 1779 as a junior officer under Cook. In 1791, England had sent him to the Pacific to receive certain lands on the northwest coast of North America from Spain. He was also to complete the exploration of the coast that was begun by Cook. Vancouver was then to make a survey of the Hawaiian Islands and spend the winter there. He brought to Hawaii cattle, sheep, goats, and geese as gift to the Hawaiians, and these were received by Kamehameha. Kamehameha, an alii from Hawaii Island, realized the importance of conservation. He placed a 10-year kapu on the cattle so that they would have a chance to multiply. Captain Vancouver also gave the chiefs of the different islands grapevines, orange and almond trees, and garden seeds. Vancouver's gifts supplied the traders with beef and added variety to the Hawaiians' diet. His most important contribution, however, was promoting peace among the warring chiefs. He spent much time advising Kamehameha on ruling his kingdom and dealing with foreigners. Unlike most foreigners visiting the islands during this period, he refused to supply guns to any of the chiefs in Hawaii, but he did help strengthen the position of the king in other ways. Vancouver's carpenters helped build the first European-type vessel in the Hawaiian Islands and promised the king a British man of war, which was sent some years later. Vancouver also taught the king how to drill his troops. Because of Vancouver's influence, Kamehameha offered to place his kingdom under the protection of Great Britain, but the British government did not act upon this offer. Kamehameha was born at Kohala on the northern side of the island of Hawaii sometime between 1753 and 1760. His parents were the chief Keoa and the chiefess Kekuiapuiwa. Some accounts say that Kahekili, later the king of Maui, was the natural father. Kekuiapuiwa's uncle, Alapainui, the ruling chief of the island, believed that Kamehameha would grow up to be a threat to him. Knowing that her uncle wanted to kill the baby, Kekuiapuiwa hid him with the chief Naiole. Naiole and Kekuiapuiwa's cousin, Kahaopulani, became his foster parents. They called him Paiea. When Paiea was 5 years old, he returned to live with his parents. Alapainui, who no longer considered the boy to be a threat, named him Kamehameha. When Kamehameha was about 12, he was taken to the court of his uncle Kalaniʻopuʻu, the ruling chief of Hawaii. There he received training for battle from the famous warrior Kekuhaupi'o. Shortly after the arrival of Captain Cook, an event occurred that was a turning point in Kamehameha's life. In 1780, Kalaniʻopuʻu, perhaps sensing that he had not long to live, called a meeting of high-ranking chiefs. He announced that his successor was to be his son, Kivala'o. His younger son, Keoa Kuahu'ula, was to receive land. Kamehameha was to take care of Kuka'ilimoku, the family war god. A bitter rivalry developed between Kivala'o and Kamehameha. One event in particular angered Kivala'o. A rebel chief was captured and brought to a heiau in the Ka'u district to be sacrificed to the war god. He was clubbed or stabbed to death, and his body was laid upon the altar. Kivala'o, representing the king, was supposed to offer the sacrifice, but suddenly Kamehameha stepped forward and offered the sacrifice himself. Perhaps powerful friends urged him to take this bold step. Perhaps he believed that as caretaker of the war god, he should take the central role in the sacrifice. As a result, Kalaniʻopuʻu advised him to leave, and this he did, taking with him a group of supporters and the war god. Early in 1782, Kalaniʻopuʻu died. Two rival groups of chiefs were formed. Each looked out for its own interest. On one side were the chiefs of Kona, who had persuaded Kamehameha to join them. On the other side were the young king, Kivala'o, his uncle, Keawe and his half-brother, Keoa. Within a few months, the two sides were at war. The climax of the struggle took place at Mokuʻohai in the summer of 1782. Kamehameha's forces won, and Kivala'o was killed. The surviving chiefs seized different areas of the island. Keoa took Ka'u and part of Puna. His uncle took Hilo and adjoining areas in Puna and Hamakua. Kamehameha took Kona, his own Kohala, and northern Hamakua.